Round 23 of the AFL season is a wrap, and the race to the finals is almost done. There's one round to go. We're going to go through all 9 matches from the weekend, what all the results mean going forward. So sit back. This is the All Aussie Rules Football Podcast. I hope you enjoy. Welcome on into the All Aussie Rules Football Podcast. This is episode number 59 of season 2025, and today we're going to be reviewing all 9 matches from the AFL round 23. Jeez, I nearly said 2023. Just round 23 of season 2025. We're going to go through all 9 matches today. We'll end up with our tips. I've made the decision that we won't go through the leaderboard of the our Brownlow votes or our MVP at the end of the round, just to keep it a little bit interesting going into the final round next week. Obviously, if you've been here all the time, or you were here last week, you can add them up yourself as we go through the episode. But otherwise, the final leaderboard will be shown after next week's episode. That'll be episode like 61, I think. 62 maybe. So yes, other than that, we're going to go through the games as we usually do. There's also 2 more episodes coming out this week, so plenty of content. This one came out on Monday, if you're not watching it on the day it came out. This comes out Monday every week. On Wednesday this week, we're going to be doing round 24 preview, a day early than normal, for a reason that we'll get into shortly. But round 24 review will come out on Wednesday this week instead of Thursday. And then on Friday, we will have our AFLW round 2 preview and round 1 review episode. So that'll be out on Friday. So it's out before any of the AFLW action this week. That spaces each episode out 2 days apart. After this week, we jump into 1 episode per week. So that will be every week will be Monday will be the men's AFL episode. So we'll be reviewing previous weekend, reviewing previous weekend, previewing the following weekend's action. And then on Thursday each week will be our AFLW episode, doing the exact same thing. That will go all the way through until the end of AFLW season. Even after the men's season's finished, we will continue with the 1 men's episode, 1 women's episode every single week. This is your number 1 stop for all your AFL ratings, news, information, everything you need. All in one spot. Plenty of social media content as well. It's been a little bit sparse this weekend because for some reason the AFL stats aren't working great this weekend, and there's been a bit of a delay. But as it stands, we're getting them all out in time. But yeah, they're all ready to go for this episode. I don't think there's much else to go through. So we're going to start kicking off through the games. We always start with the first game of the weekend. This weekend, it was actually on a Friday instead of the typical Thursday game. The spotlight was given to the AFLW on Thursday night, and they were a couple good games. But that AFLW content will be on Friday's episode, which will be episode number 61. So come back on Friday and check out all our AFLW content. But for now, this is game 1 of this weekend. It was the Bombers hosting St Kilda at Marvel Stadium. It was Friday night. There was 2 games on Friday this week. This was the first of them. St Kilda ended up getting the 2-point win. Not the most convincing win of all time. Essendon actually led this match for more time than the Saints. They certainly had their opportunities. St Kilda kicked the first, but then up until just before, or just after halftime, Essendon led. Roll Marshall kicked the first of the third quarter to give the Saints the lead. And then it was kind of goal for goal most of the way through. Essendon did take the lead early in the fourth through Jai Menzies, but they couldn't kick a goal for a bit, and St Kilda got a couple through Mason Wood, and then Cooper Sharman put them more than a goal clear very late in the game. Cole Langford did get them one back, get them within a kick, and then right on the siren with about 4 seconds to go, Mason Redmond had a flying shot from just outside 50, didn't quite get it, it hooked it to the narrow side for a behind, and St Kilda held on for 2-point win. Not their best game, but they're on a 4-game winning streak. quite possibly could have lost all 4 of those games. Have not been pretty wins, but they have been wins. So at the end of the day, that's all you can kind of do in football is get the 4 points. And yeah, they're going to end up higher on the ladder than they certainly looked like they were going to 4 or 5 weeks ago. The Bombers, their season, it's been a long time since they've got a win. This was almost a chance for them. They just fell short. Kind of feel bad for them in a way. I was certainly cheering them on to try and get that win. They've got 2 games left, and I bet you they wish they had none, but they still have 2 more matches. They obviously play Carlton on Thursday night this week. We'll get to the Carlton game from this weekend shortly, but they were quite good against Port Adelaide. And then they finished the year with Gold Coast. St Kilda, they have just the 1 game left coming up this season. They don't play until Sunday afternoon. That will be at NG Stadium against GWS, who will be well and truly up for the match. Home final on the line, or top 4 spot, depending on how other results go for GWS. So that'll be a tough game for the Saints, although I don't think they play that badly against the Giants, or they certainly haven't over recent years. So maybe, just maybe, they'll be in with a chance in that game. Let's jump into some of the stats of this game. As you can see, our All Aussie Rules team rating, if you're watching this episode and not just listening, is on the screen right now. Bombers 45.27, St Kilda 42.3. So Bombers actually outrated St Kilda in this game, even though they did lose by 2 points. That's a pretty high rating for Essendon, probably their highest and certainly their most positive rating they've had in probably 12 weeks, just about, I reckon. It was a good performance from them in many ways. Looking at disposals, other stats, Bombers plus 38 disposals in this game, so certainly had plenty of the football. They had an extra 2 inside 50s. Ground territory battle was pretty much dead level between the 2 teams. Contested footy, pretty close level again. Intercepts, Essendon won that area of the game plus 6. Clearances went massively to St Kilda. They went plus 9. Other than that, 8 extra shots for St Kilda, so a lot of wasted opportunities. Therefore, they were definitely the expected score winner. I don't think it was as convincing as that, but I guess it kind of was. St Kilda just wasted opportunities all night long. Score sources, it was pretty level across the field. It ended up being St Kilda winning it from turnover, at least the scoring-wise, plus 11 in that regard, from 6 less interceptions. So that's probably Essendon's biggest issue here. They did really well at causing turnovers from St Kilda, but turning it into scores was their major issue, I think. Other than that, I think they played pretty well, both teams. There's nothing to write home about. Both teams are obviously missing finals this year. It's been a long year, certainly for Essendon with injuries, but that's pretty much the long and the short of this game. Essendon are going to end up 15th on the ladder at the end of the season, unless they were to win both of their last 2 games. Even still, I don't see that happening. And then St Kilda, they're up to 11th on the ladder right now with 1 game to play. They can't go any higher than 11th. They can't reach Sydney. However, they could drop depending on what Carlton do and Port Adelaide as well, although I don't think Port Adelaide will be able to make up the percentage. 11th or 12th finish for St Kilda, and pretty much certainly going to be 15th, I think, for the Bombers, unless Kangaroos win and jump them next week, which I find very unlikely, seeing they have Adelaide next weekend, who are looking to lock in the minor premiership. That's pretty much everything from this game in team stats-wise. Individual basis, Brownlow votes were gone Mason Redmond 3. He had like 36 touches in this game. A really, really impressive game from him. One of his better games of his career, probably. He had 12 marks. He had that late shot that could have been the game winner that would have really locked in an all-time performance from him. Jack Steele, I've given the 2 votes. He had St Kilda's most touches with 27. He was very good. And Cooper Sharman, I've given the one vote. He kicked multiple goals in this game and crucial goals as well. He ended up with 3 goals, 1 from 5 shots, 17 disposals, 6 marks. Was really good. MVP votes, if you're new around here, we give out MVP votes every single game to the top 5 players in the All Aussie Rules rating system for each team. The winning team gets 10, 8, 6, 4, and 2 votes. The losing team gets half of that, so 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 for their top 5. Essendon lost, so they get the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. In this one, Mason Redmond was the highest rated with 5. Andy McGrath had a really good game. He got 4 votes. Sam Durham, he's had a good season, 3. Archie Roberts, and his second season was good. He gets 2. Cole Langford came back into the team. He kicked a couple goals. He had 15 disposals. Spent a bit of time on the wing. He gets the 1 vote. St Kilda, on the other hand, Windhager was their highest rated player in the end. Sorry, I was just looking at the wrong screen. He had 26 disposals in this game. Nashaya Wanganeen-Malira kept up his really good second half of the season. I mean, he's been good all year, but his second half has been outstanding. He had 24 touches and a goal. Maybe sneaks in for a Brownlow vote or 2 in this one. We'll see. He's certainly going to be in contention of Brownlow medal, I think, this season. Rowan Marshall, he gets the 6. He was good in the ruck. He was certainly the best ruckman on the ground, but, I mean, he's up against Todd Goldstein, who's 400 years old. He's obviously not that old. Cooper Sharman gets the 4, as we've already gone through his credentials for this game, and Jack Steele gets the 2 for his 27 touches. That's pretty much everything we need from this game, I think. Neither team obviously playing finals football. They're both getting close to wrapping up their season. Moving on to Fremantle. Brisbane was the other game on Friday night. And what a game this one was. Fremantle went in favourites with a chance to pretty much lock in finals with a win. Not necessarily, but pretty much would have. And now all of a sudden they're in trouble. They kicked 5 goals, 14, 44, lost at 15-11, 101 to the Brisbane Lions, who once again just travel so well. Their season on the road has been fantastic. They've won some really big games on the road, and maybe none bigger than this. They've beaten Hawthorn quite comfortably at the MCG. They beat Collingwood quite comfortably at the MCG. They've beaten Fremantle over in the West. Yes, they have lost some games at the Gabba this year, and some that they probably shouldn't have. But this was a massive win for them. Doesn't lock in top 4, but it gives them the chance. They win next week against Hawthorn, and they are guaranteed top 4 finish, which would be huge for them in the context of this season. The top 8 is going to be so close that every position could be really important, especially that double chance. What to say about this game? Poor goal kickings, poor football. We've gone over it many times this season, and this is just another one. Yeah, they probably wouldn't have won anyway, even if they had have kicked really straight or a lot straighter, Fremantle. But they would have been in with a chance in that final quarter and a half. But 5 goals, 14, you're just never going to win a game of football kicking like that. It was just a bad day for them. They were down from the start, 0-5 in the first quarter to 3-2, and then they kicked a little bit better in the second quarter. They managed 3 goals, 3 to actually win the second quarter and close the gap a little bit. But then third quarter came around and Brisbane kicked 5 goals to 1 for Fremantle and ran away with it again in the last quarter, kicking another 5 goals to 1. So it was just a dominant display, really, from Brisbane, who flexed their muscles heading into September action. Team ratings by the All Aussie Rules rating system. Plus 15, basically, for Brisbane. 50.22, really good score. Fremantle, a 34.78, which I think is actually their lowest rating of the season. They had a couple bad ones early, namely the game against Geelong at GMHBA Stadium and the game against St Kilda at Marvel Stadium. They were both really poor games and rated games for Fremantle, but this might be their worst, being that it was at home. They had everything to play for, and all of a sudden they're looking very much like they're going to do what they did last year. which would be heartbreaking for Freo fans, I reckon. Looking at some of the team stats from this game, the important numbers behind the win, it was just controlled, I think, by Brisbane, basically. They had an extra 100 disposals, 106 disposals in this game. Their disposal efficiency was 77 compared to Fremantle's 69. So 77 is very much high for a game of football. 69 is very, very low. You're usually running low 70s, 72, 73 probably. So to be well below that for Fremantle and well above that for Brisbane just kind of tells you what this game was. And that's a lot of control from Brisbane and very little control of the match for Fremantle. Only 3 extra inside 50s for the Lions here, but don't let them take away from the fact that they were absolute dominant. They do sometimes play games where they absolutely dominate inside 50s and don't smash the scoreboard, but this is when they're better, when they're not smashing the inside 50s, but they're getting good scores, and this is one of those. Plus 13 contested for Brisbane, so a little bit of an advantage there. Intercepts were pretty much level, +1 to Fremantle. Clearances were +6 to Brisbane. Shots at goal, +8 for Brisbane as well. So they certainly were the expected winner score-wise. They certainly outplayed them, I think, in most facets of this game. As we said, Fremantle actually had the one extra turnover, or intercept, sorry, than Brisbane, but just couldn't score. They kicked 4 goals, 7 from turnovers, whereas Brisbane, who had one less intercept, kicked 11-7, so plus 42 points right there. That's your game. You lose turnover scoring by 42 points, you're not going to win the game of football. It's simple as that. Scoring from the forward half was absolutely dominant by Brisbane, 71-24. They smacked them all over the park, but especially in that forward half. And from the turnover game, a fantastic effort from Brisbane in this one. Brownlow votes, I've gone Zach Bailey, 3 votes in this one. He had a big game. Hugh McCluggage, 2. And Logan Morris, who's had a really good, probably 6-week period, he gets the 1 vote. MVP votes for the losing team, Fremantle. Caleb Sarong gets 5 votes here, 26 touches. He was their highest rated player, 8 clearances. His partner in crime in the middle, Andrew Brayshaw, 22 touches, 6 intercepts. Jordan Clark, running off the half-back line, he gets the 3 votes. He had 24 touches in this one, missed a goal, but 4 marks, 9 intercepts for him. Josh Tracy, he's been their best tall forward all season long, and this was once again the case. He gets 2 votes for this one. He kicked 2 goals, 2 from his 13 touches, 7 marks. And Luke Ryan in the back line gets the 1 vote. But they rated poorly across the field, really. It was only really Sarong that had a decent rating in this game. Everyone else was pretty low. Brisbane, on the other hand, Zach Bailey, as we said, he got the 3 Brownlow votes, but he was also their highest rated player by the All Aussie Rules rating system. He had a really big game. 28 touches, 2 goals, 2. Jasper Fletcher, he's putting together some good form of late. He had 32 touches in this, including 17 marks, 7 intercepts. Ryan Lester, he was really good as well. 17 touches, 10 marks, had plenty of uncontested football. Dane Zorko, 4 votes. He had 27 touches, 12 marks. Obviously, as he usually is, a really good ball user. He went at almost 90%. And Hugh McCluggage gets the 2 votes for his 28 touches and a goal. Basically, all we have left to go through is what this means for both of these 2 teams. What to say? We'll start with Fremantle. This could be the nail in the coffin for them. It might not be. It might be. We'll have to wait and see. Obviously, if the Bulldogs lose, just an FYI, I am recording this before the Sunday games, so the Bulldogs haven't played their round 23 game yet. We'll obviously edit that bit in at the end of the episode. Unless the Bulldogs lose today, Fremantle could be out of the finals. They will have to go up against the Dogs at Marvel Stadium next Sunday afternoon to try and get a spot, and that is going to be a massive game. After losing 4 games last year to miss finals, the last 4 games, they would absolutely be devastated if they lost the last 2 games this season to miss finals again. But there is a genuine chance that that is what is going to happen. Massive, massive game next week against the Bulldogs. There's no doubt about it. And they'll be able to get revenge because they played really poorly last week or in this game against the Brisbane Lions. So they need to go out and they need to make a statement. Brisbane, on the other hand, massive win for them, especially with the context of some of the other results this weekend. They are now top 4 bound if they win next week. They play Hawthorn Sunday evening. That is a massive game for both teams. Hawthorn trying to get into the top 4, which is still a possibility depending on other results, and Brisbane trying to cement themselves in that top 4. It's going to be interesting to see how that plays out, but that is a massive game. Brisbane set themselves up, though. They win, they finish top 4. There's no doubt about that. They're going to be third on the ladder at the end of this round, and as I said, they win. They probably won't jump Geelong, depending if Geelong beats Sydney or not. But at the same time, they'll be pretty happy. An away game at the MCG against Geelong in a qualifying final is not the worst thing. They beat them in the prelim down there last year, so that would be an interesting game for sure. That's pretty much everything from that game. Let's move on to Saturday football. This was another big game with another big result that has massive implications on the finals as well. This was Gold Coast GWS up on the Gold Coast. And the Giants got it done. They have an incredible record against the Suns, pardon me. And they do it again here. 35-point winners. They pretty much led from pillar to post. They dominated the first quarter, plus 15. They were 22 points up at halftime. Third quarter, they absolutely dominated, kicking 6 goals 1 to 2-2 to absolutely blow the Suns out of the water. And then the final quarter, the Suns did actually win, kicking 3 goals to 2, but it was damage done. GWS, big win at a very important time for them. They were just in a little bit of danger, not massive due to the Fremantle loss on the weekend, but of missing finals going into the week, and a win basically shut that door. They still have to beat. Well, they're through. They're definitely through. Let's be fair, and that's huge. Gold Coast do have that extra game in hand, so they still have top 4 chance. They still have top 4 aspirations. They should probably win both of their last 2 games based on who they're playing. So top 4 is still a chance. Finals is definitely a chance still for Gold Coast. We'll go through that shortly, though. Let's have a look at the numbers of this game. As you can see, massive advantage in the All Aussie Rules rating system for GWS. 49-5-1 to a 41-2-6. Pretty comfortable win. A second bad result for Gold Coast in the last 6 weeks. Other than that, they've been flawless. Do we just forgive this one? Probably. They just don't play well against GWS, do they? It might be all it is. Simple as that. Disposals, GWS controlled it, plus 40 odd. Disposal efficiency was pretty much level, but inside 50s plus 5 for GWS. Contested plus 8. Intercepts plus 5 for GWS. Gold Coast actually won the clearances plus 6. But shots on goal was plus 5 for GWS. And obviously they were the expected score winners. Crazy numbers. It was the tsunami. 4 goals straight from kick-ins by the Giants in this game is ridiculous. And that tells you kind of all you need to know about this game. Gold Coast just couldn't stop them from scoring, but from the back half at all. 68-32 from the back half. And 22-6 from the centre bounce. It's not enough from Gold Coast here. They dominated clearances, as we said, but didn't dominate clearance scoring. 42-31 was in GWS's favour. So it's just a game that maybe we put out of our heads in the long term for Gold Coast, but GWS just controlled it and did what they needed to, but Gold Coast just didn't make use of their opportunities, and GWS certainly did. They moved the ball probably the best they have in the last 5 or 6 weeks, I would say. A really, really solid result from the Giants. Early first quarter, the writing was on the wall a bit, I guess, when they were pretty much efficient. Efficiency was key at first quarter. They, I think, had 11 inside 50s and kicked like 5-5 or something like that. So they were pretty much scoring every time they went forward and kicked 5 goals. Probably should have been 6. They missed an absolute sitter. So, yeah, credit to GWS. They did what they needed to, and they got a really good result here. Brownlow votes, we got Finn Callaghan for 3, Tom Green for 2 votes, and Jack Riccardi for 1 vote in this game. MVP votes for the losing team in Gold Coast. Matt Rowell rated their highest. He had 25 touches in this one. 15 of those contested, 8 clearances. Noah Anderson, he bounced back this week. He gets 4, 32 touches, 2 shots. Missed them both, though. Could have been better. Miller, he was solid again. 28 touches in this game. 6 clearances. Bodie Ulant gets the 2 votes. He had 18 touches, 7 marks. 3 intercept marks. Jared Witts gets 1 in the ruck. He was the best ruckman on the ground, but wasn't good enough to have a major effect on the game, I don't think. Whereas the winning team, 10 goes to Finn Callaghan. He was the highest rated player. He had 29 touches, 2 intercept marks, 8 clearances, 4 intercepts. He just did pretty much everything. 7 inside 50s in this game. He was really, really, really good across the ground and in every way that he needed to be. Tom Green, he gets the 8 votes. He also had plenty of the ball, 29 touches, 8 clearances. He also was really good. They both had really good numbers throughout this game. Harry Ralston, he had a good game. I think he kicked 4 goals in the end. I don't think I made that up. No, I didn't. 12 touches, 4 goals, 6 marks. Really, really good performance from him. Probably, I think, quite clearly his best game at AFL level. Lockie Ash was solid through most of the game. Couple early mistakes, but certainly made up for them later on. As this game went on, he had 26 touches in it. And Lockie Whitfield, he had 27 touches and gets the 2 votes. Outstanding performance from the Giants is basically the long and the short of this match. What that means, where that has both of these teams. Currently, Gold Coast are out of the 8 if the Bulldogs win this weekend, but they do have that extra game, and they should win them both, so that would end them on 16 wins for the season, which is still a really good effort. However, they've gone from, if they had have won this game, you would have been pretty much locking them in for a top 4 spot, whereas now, because they've lost this, top 4 is pretty tough to get to. It's not impossible. Percentage boost could get them there. They're only just behind on percentage on Hawthorn and Collingwood, so 2 big percentage boosting wins over the next 2 weeks, and they could jump both of those as well as GWS, whose percentage is below them. So top 4 is not out of the question, but they would need a bit of luck to get there. They would definitely need to win both games, and they would need to win them by more than what Collingwood or Hawthorn win their games by this weekend. It'll be interesting to see how that plays out. They've still got a lot to play for. They definitely, if they win both games, they'll at least be top 6 and have a home elimination final at worst. So massive chance for them. Meanwhile, GWS, they win this week. They'll go to 16 wins as well. They're playing St Kilda at NG Stadium. They win 16 wins. Probably won't be enough for a home elimination final, just due to the fact that you'd imagine Gold Coast are going to go past them. But maybe it will be enough because, I mean, Hawthorn or Brisbane, one of those 2 teams is going to lose. So maybe they'll finish 5th or 6th, probably 6th maybe if they win this week. If they were to lose this week, coming up against St Kilda, it would throw the absolute pigeon to the, I don't know what eats pigeons, but I don't even know what saying I was going for, but it would certainly be an interesting result that would throw the spanner in the works. Is probably the more accurate statement I was going for. Um, yeah, I don't know. GWS, they've guaranteed finals now. They should be safely into finals because at the moment they're sitting above Fremantle and the Bulldogs. Only one of those two teams can win the final game, so they will definitely finish above one of those two now, unless something freaky happens. But I don't think that's possible, unless GWS lost by 100 points, maybe. So yeah, that's basically the long and the short of those two teams. What they have to do, Gold Coast just need to go out and win both games. They'll get at worst a home elimination final, which they'll certainly be hoping is not against GWS based on this result here. Next game of football was Carlton Port Adelaide. Obviously, neither team playing finals football, so we won't go too deeply into this game, probably. It's not the most exciting game of football that we've ever watched, but it was the Harry Mackay show in many ways. Carlton win this one by 54 points, 18-10, 118 to 9-10, 64, just to show the Blues fans what Carlton are capable of when they're playing good football. They dominated it from early. They absolutely piled the goals on early. I think they kicked like 5 or 6 to start the game before Port Adelaide even showed up, basically. It was 7 goals to 3 at quarter time. Another 6 goals in the second quarter for Carlton. They had 13 goals 5 at half time. Second half was a little bit quieter, just the 5 goals for both teams, but a really good performance by Carlton across the board. They were clearly the better team on the day. Team rating 50.76 to Port Adelaide's 38.45 is an absolute domination. Carlton's best performance of the year. I think that's clear. These two teams did meet only like 6-7 weeks ago. And it was that day, it was the exact opposite of this. Port Adelaide won it by 60 points. So football's weird. I know home ground advantage obviously played a bit of a part there, but yeah. I don't think either of these teams will be happy at all with how their seasons panned out. And Port Adelaide have looked quite putrid over recent weeks, which makes me even more confident on Gold Coast beating them next week. Because, yeah, Gold Coast have a lot to play for. Port Adelaide don't have a whole heap at all. Team stats in this one. Carlton dominated it. Plus 70 disposals. Had a lot more metres gained. Plus 27 inside 50s. Ball was in the Carlton forward half for almost 60% of the game time. Disposal efficiency for Carlton 76. For Port Adelaide, it was just 71. Pretty much across the board, Carlton are dominating this game. Plus 11 clearances. The only thing Port Adelaide won was intercepts, basically. Plus 2. Contested marks, 17-7 in favour of Carlton was a huge part of this game as well. 31 shots to 22 for Carlton. It was domination. Scoring from stoppages, Carlton 52-22. From turnover was 60-29. So even though Port Adelaide did pretty good in the turnover game, couldn't turn it into scores at all. Score origin, it was all forward half work from Carlton. 61-22 from the forward half. Domination there. Just controlled the game, controlled everything that they needed to. And all their big players stepped up and played a really good game. None more than Harry Mackay, who ended the game with 7 goals in this one. 21 disposals, 15 of those contested. 3 contested marks, 7 goals. Really, really good performance from Harry Mackay. George Hewitt, we've given the 2 votes to. He had 35 touches in this game, 11 clearances. He was massive from the outset. And Paddy Cripps, we've given the 1 vote to. There's a lot of players that probably are in this conversation. Sam Walsh, maybe Blake Acres. But I've gone Paddy Cripps. He polls well with umpires usually. He had 22 touches, 2 goals. He was really good in this one. MVP votes, there's no way you can go past Harry Mackay. He was the highest rated player on the ground. He was absolutely outstanding. 7 goals from his 8 shots. He's without him, Carlton probably still win quite comfortably, but it would have been a lot closer. Zach Williams gets the 8 votes in the MVP as the second highest rated player for Carlton. 20 touches, 13 of those contested. He had 3 intercepts. He also had 3 clearances, kicked a couple goals as well. George Hewitt, as we said, 35 touches. He gets the 6 votes. 4 to Paddy Cripps for his 22 and 2. And Sam Walsh wraps up the top 5 with 2 votes. He got 28 touches in this one. Did miss a couple shots that might have put him up a little bit higher on the ranking boards. Port Adelaide obviously got smacked in this one. No one rated too highly. Zach Butters was okay with 29 touches, 8 clearances. Travis Boak in his second last game, 22 touches and a goal. He was good. Jordan Sweet, probably, maybe the best ruckman. They were pretty similar, both teams' ruckman, to be fair. He gets 3. Kane Farrell, he gets 2 votes in this one for his 17 touches. And the final vote goes to Willem Drew, who had 20 disposals in this one. That wraps up the game. We'll have a look at what it means for their seasons. Not much, really. It's win number 8 for Carlton's season to equal Port Adelaide on 8 wins with 1 game to play. Carlton play Essendon next week, so you'd imagine they probably win that, which would temporarily maybe put them above St Kilda, depending, and then St Kilda still play. But St Kilda probably lose, so maybe Carlton finish 11th on the ladder on 9 wins. If they lose to Essendon next week, they're going to finish 12th or 13th on the ladder on 8 wins. So it's not a terrible season from them. From what they were hoping for, it probably is. They did have a lot of injuries this year. They've got plenty of excuses, but I think overall they'll be a little bit disappointed with their results. And yeah, I don't know. Winning next week isn't going to mean much, but we'll see what happens. Their percentage is pretty high, in all honesty, for a team that's 8 and 14. Port Adelaide, they're also 8 and 14, but their percentage is horrible because there's been plenty of games this year where they have been flogged. There's no two ways about it. They have been absolutely flogged from the start. Their opening game was against Collingwood. They got smacked, and the recent weeks has been even worse, in all honesty. Like, this one was a 50-point loss. They were good against Fremantle last week, but got smacked by Geelong by 80, lost by 98 points in the wet to Adelaide. They're counting down the days till their season's done. They finish on Friday night against Gold Coast. Gold Coast have a lot to play for. Port Adelaide do not. They're going to finish probably 13th or 14th, depending on if Melbourne win next weekend. Because I can't see them beating Gold Coast. If they did beat Gold Coast, they could finish as high as 11th, I guess, if they smacked them, but they're not going to. So they're probably going to finish 12th, 13th, 14th, probably more likely 13th or 14th, in my opinion. That's that game. Let's move on to the next one. And it was Melbourne. It was in Melbourne at the MCG. Hawthorn v Melbourne Demons. A game that Hawthorn had a lot riding on, and Melbourne probably didn't have as much, except for trying to cause some chaos to the AFL ladder late season. They weren't successful, though. Hawthorn win it pretty much in cruise control by 36 points. Jack Gunston went off again. What a season he has had. This game was over early, I think. 33-6 at quarter time, 49-15 at half time. 70-27 at 3/4 time, and with like 3 or 4 minutes to go in this game, it was well and truly over. And then all of a sudden, Melbourne just decided to kick the last 3 goals of the match just to make a little bit of a dent, which, in all honesty, could have a bearing on the season for Hawthorn. Those percentage points that they lose in the last minute or two of that game could be crucial, because as it stands after the Collingwood game, which we haven't gone into yet, they sit level points, but down by 0.4%. So they probably would have been above them if they hadn't conceded those last 3 goals. And that could be crucial next week in a race where them, Collingwood and Gold Coast are all very similar percentage points. That could be crucial in their final finishing position. Might not matter. It might. We'll see how that plays out. But that could be a little bit of an important factor from this game, is those last couple minutes and not quite finishing Melbourne off as well as perhaps they should have. But it was a really, really good performance, other than that, by Hawthorn here. We'll look in at the team stats. As you can see, team rating 48.23 for Hawthorn, 41.83 for Melbourne. Pretty much tells you everything you need to know, I think. Hawthorn, comfortable enough. Did it when they needed to. They certainly never looked like losing this game at any point throughout this match. So a really good performance and got the job done. Some of the team stats to look at in this match. Overall, plus it was a high disposal game, 406 for Hawthorn, 376 for Melbourne. Disposal efficiency for both teams was down a little bit. You expect that. It was wet weather football. Inside 50s actually was won by Melbourne, and forward half percent time also slightly ahead by Melbourne by 0.02%. It was a game where Hawthorn just took their opportunities, I think, is the long and the short of it. High intercept game, 83 to 75 in favour of Hawthorn. Clearances +5 for Melbourne. So Melbourne did a lot of things right. They just didn't have the class, I think, is what separated them. Maybe also the importance of the game wasn't there for Melbourne, so Hawthorn had a lot more to play for. Ended up 8 extra shots for the Hawks. They kicked, obviously, pretty straight, 13 goals from 27 to Melbourne's 8 goals from 19 shots. Scoring-wise, dominated from stoppage for Hawthorn, 50 to 13. Turnover was pretty much level, 42 to 43. Hawthorn transitioned the ball really well to scores, 46 from the defensive half to 18 for Melbourne, and then forward half was 42 to 32 in favour of the Hawks. That's pretty much all the team stats we need to look at. Best players. Brownlow votes. I've gone Jack Gunston 3 votes, Dylan Moore 2, and Connor McDonald 1 vote. MVP votes 10 for the highest rated player goes to Jack Gunston. He kicked 7 goals 4 from 11 shots. Almost could have had a tenner. A massive game from him. He had only 14 touches, but boy oh boy did he turn them into shots. 14 disposals for 11 shots is a really, really good efficiency rate there. Dylan Moore, he was the second highest rated player for the Hawks. He was really good in this. 32 touches and 2 goals. Connor McDonald, as I said, he got a Brownlow vote in my system at least for his 28 touches, 1 goal, 3. Could have had an even bigger day. Carl Lamont, he's had a good season. Very underrated season, I think, in all honesty. He had 24 touches in this. He gets 4 votes. And Jarman Impey gets the 2 for his work in this one. Moving on to Melbourne and the losing team. 5 votes. Max Gawn was huge again. He's had a splendid season. He might be going to get another All-Australian. It's going to be tight between him and 3 others, in my opinion. Him, Tristan Cherry, are probably the 2 highest rated so far this year. But don't write off the other 2 in Luke Jackson, and I can't even think of the 4th. But yeah, there's 4 that are really closely rated. I don't know why I can't think of the 4th. But Max Gawn might be on track for another one. He was big again here. He had 27 disposals, 12 intercepts, which is absurd. As a ruckman, was a really good performance from him. 35 hitouts as well. Clearly the best ruckman on the ground. Absolutely beat Lloyd Meek in that duel. Christian Salem gets the 4. He had 30 touches. Clayton Oliver, he's had an okay season. He's nowhere near his self from a few years back, but he had 28 touches and a goal. Jack Viney, he gets 2 votes for his game, 22 touches. Tom Sparrow gets the 1 for his 23 disposals. That wraps up that game. We'll move into what that means for both teams. Hawthorn, it's huge for them. 15 wins now for the season. Guarantees them finals, especially with their percentage. Unless they were to get absolutely belted by 100 and 200 points, something like that. They're guaranteed finals. They have Brisbane up at the Gabba next week. That's huge. Brisbane haven't been that good at the Gabba this season. It's a winnable game. There's no doubt about it. Teams around them all probably also have more winnable games than them. But if they were to win it, they would obviously jump above Brisbane, and then it would be them, Collingwood, Giants, maybe Gold Coast, all fighting for the same sort of position on the ladder. So percentage could be very important, especially if they win next week, as do Collingwood, and then Gold Coast win both their games. So fascinating how the season's going to play out for Hawthorn, especially. I think a massive game at the Gabba. Brisbane will want to win that though, so that they can have that top 4 finish. They obviously won the premiership last year from 5th spot, so it's not impossible if they don't make the top 4 for any team. Melbourne, their season's been over for a while. They're only on 7 wins. They get one more chance to disrupt the final series next week against Collingwood at the MCG on Friday night. They win that, they probably jump 1, maybe 2 spots on the ladder. They lose, they probably finish, well, they will definitely finish 14th. So that's basically where they're going to be. Maybe 12th to 14th, but you'd imagine 14th. They could win against Collingwood. There's no doubt that they could win that one, who obviously haven't won many games of football of late, but Collingwood will have a lot to play for there. So you'd imagine Collingwood would be too strong. And yeah, that's basically Melbourne's season. Will be done on Friday night. We've got one more game on the Saturday to look at, and it was a wet Adelaide Oval. It was Adelaide v Collingwood. Adelaide win by the skin of their teeth, 3 points, which basically doesn't 100% guarantee them top spot minor premiership, but it gets them awfully close. It was a weird and wacky game. Collingwood came out of the blocks absolutely flying, 5-1 in the first quarter, and then the reverse happened. Adelaide kicked 5-0 in the second to take a lead into half-time. Then there was only 2 goals kicked in the third quarter, both of them very late. And then in the final quarter, it was 2 goals to 2 goals. Once again, all through reasonably late in the game. And it was a back and forward affair, but one that Adelaide led for the whole second half, even though most of the time it was within a kick. A really, really big result for the Crows. They'll be absolutely stoked with this win. Collingwood, they'll be gutted that they didn't win this. We'll get to the team stats shortly, but they've only got themselves to blame, really, that they didn't win this game. In all honesty, we look at the team rating there. Collingwood actually rated higher than Adelaide in this one, and you'll see why shortly. 44.08 to 42.69. A much better performance from Collingwood than they've shown the previous 2 weeks. Meanwhile, Adelaide, it's probably one of their worst performances they've had in the last 6 weeks. People probably won't, or maybe even 10 weeks in all honesty, probably won't say it was as bad as last week against West Coast, although the rating system says that it was. Obviously, they were playing a better team here, though, so it's swings and roundabouts, I guess. A look at the team stats in this game and why Collingwood looked like they should have won it, but Adelaide's defense just absolutely stood up. Disposal count was only +2 to Adelaide, pretty close. Disposal efficiency numbers were low. It was wet weather football. Inside 50s, 71 for Collingwood to kick 8 goals. That is insanely poor efficiency and incredible defence by Adelaide. 71 to 37 inside 50s, 34 difference. That is one of the biggest differences you'll ever see, and in a game where the team that had the most lost the match is unreal. Collingwood will be absolutely kicking themselves at their inability to score in this game. Forward halftime, 60.4% in Collingwood's half. The ball just sat there and they could not score. Adelaide got back in numbers and their backman did really well. Josh Worrell was outstanding, as was Mark Keane. Intercepts, both teams had high numbers, 76, 78. It was wet weather football. Clearances, Collingwood dominated that as well, +14. Intercept marks, Collingwood won, 24-14. Contested marks was Adelaide's favour, 13-9. Shots at goal, Collingwood 22, Adelaide 15. So Collingwood had an extra 7 shots in this game. 22 shots for only 16 scores compared to Adelaide's 15 shots for 14 scores. Collingwood will be absolutely kicking themselves for letting this one slip. There's no doubt about it, I think. I think you play this game multiple times and Collingwood probably win it well and truly over half of the time. So Adelaide did well, there's no doubt about it, but Collingwood certainly had their opportunities. Scoring from stoppage was Adelaide's go-to here. They won at 32-15. The turnover game went in favour of Collingwood, 41-27. Defensive half in the wet was low scoring, but Adelaide did the better there, 21-8. And then from the forward half, Collingwood 48-32. There was only one goal from the centre bounce all day, and that went the way of the Crows. Brownlow votes. This will be an interesting game for Brownlow votes, in all honesty. I've given it to Nick Dacos, the 3 votes. It could go to a wide range of players for 3, 2, 1. There's probably 10 players in contention for the votes here, I think. He played really well, though, Nick Dacos. He had 29 touches, 14 of those contested, 8 clearances, and kicked a goal really late in this game. He did miss 2 shots early in the third quarter that could have turned the game, but he was outstanding. There's no doubt about it. 2 votes. I've gone to Josh Worrell. You have to give him something because he was absolutely outstanding in the back. 27 touches, 11 intercepts. Just played his role all day. Did a really good job. And 1, I've gone Jordan Dawson. I'm not convinced on who would be the third best. I think he probably would stand out to umpires. He had 23 touches, 7 clearances in this game. Other players are in contention. Scott Pendlebury, Jack Crisp certainly played a good game. Darcy Cameron was good for Collingwood. And then for Adelaide, Mark Keane was good. Mitchell Hinge, it was all their backline players, in all honesty, were their best players for Adelaide. Moving into MVP votes for the winning team. Adelaide, Josh Worrell gets the 10, as we said. He was outstanding. His intercept work, his defence work was absolutely outstanding. 8 goes to Riley O'Brien. He was solid in the ruck. He had some really good, important moments. Mark Keane gets the 6. He was outstanding in the backline as well. He had 14 intercepts. Wayne Malira gets the 4. He had 22 touches in this game. Not Jordan Dawson, sorry. Isaac Cumming gets the 2 votes for his work. He had 18 touches and a goal. For Collingwood, Darcy Cameron actually rated the highest on the field. 24 disposals in this game. Kicked a goal just on the quarter-time siren. His ruck work, his defence work was really good. Nick Dacos gets the 4. He had 29 touches, kicked a goal. Jack Crisp was really important for Collingwood at important times of this game. 23 touches and a goal. Scott Pendlebury, 24 touches in this one. He was very important. 8 clearances. Dan Houston had a bit of a role change, went onto the wing for this game, and other than a couple bad moments, he was really, really good. It was probably his best game he's had for Collingwood. He had 18 touches, kicked a goal in the first quarter, had a couple moments he'd like back, I reckon, but other than that, he was really good. What that means for both of these 2 teams, Adelaide almost certainly lock in the minor premiership. All they have to do next week now is beat North Melbourne. Look, it's not going to be the easiest game of all time, but they win it. They get the minor premiership plus, they've guaranteed already a home qualifying final, which could be against any one of pretty much anyone else in the 8, in all honesty. It's a wild, wild finish to this season, but they guarantee home qualifying final and all but guarantee the minor premiership. Meanwhile, Collingwood, they're going to end the round in 4th spot. It's an interesting spot to be. They lose next week. Unless they lost by like 200 points, they're going to finish in the top 8, guaranteed. So mathematically, they could lose and miss the 8, but they lose. They're going to drop out of the top 4, obviously. They play Melbourne on Friday night. If they win that, they could finish anywhere from technically 2nd, but realistically not really. Anywhere from 3rd down to probably 6, depending on margin of their result and margin of other games. You'd think if they win, they're going to finish above either Brisbane or Hawthorn, one or the other, unless Hawthorn smash Brisbane. Then Hawthorn would go above them. But, yeah, it's a weird little week ahead, I think. There's going to be plenty of content out in the world of everybody's finishing position. Collingwood is one that 7 weeks ago were a couple games clear on top, and now they're fighting for their lives to finish in the top four. It was a much better game here than previous games for them, but yeah, all to play for next week, Friday night against Melbourne. Possibly a wet weather game. We'll see how that goes. We'll jump into the Sunday games right after this little click. Alrighty then, we'll move on to Sunday football. There was 3 games on Sunday this week. We kicked off down in Tasmania at Ninja Stadium for Kangaroos Richmond in a battle for 16th. Pretty much the winner of this, not 100%, but basically guarantees 16th spot on the season. And the Kangaroos got the job done comfortably in this one. It was pretty much over early. North Melbourne win it by 48. I won't say early. Halftime, it was still game on. It was 8 points, but Kangaroos certainly felt in control. They just were kicking poorly. 6 goals, 11 in the first half. But they decided to kick straight in the second half and absolutely put them to the torch. 14 goals for the Kangaroos kicked in the second half, which is basically the exact same score that Richmond got for the whole game. In fact, it's actually 1 point more than the Kangaroos Richmond got for the whole game. They finished 13-9-87. It was a pretty commanding win in the end by North Melbourne. And boy, oh boy, were there some big numbers in this. Before we get to the individual stuff, which is quite absurd, some of the numbers that this Kangaroos individual basis put up for the game, we'll have a look at the team stats as we always do. Team rating, Kangaroos absolutely smoked them. 52.9 for the Roos, 38.81 for the Tigers. It was a demolition job. In the end, I don't know what to say about it. Richmond are pretty happy with their season so far. Kangaroos get a consolation prize, but it was basically just a thrashing. Key stats, Kangaroos had 134 more disposals than the Tigers in this one. Their disposal efficiency was about 5% better. They were 72.9 for the Roos. Richmond just 68. Inside 50s plus 20 for the Kangaroos, 62-42. Forward half was 54% for the Kangaroos as well. So they had it in control most of the way. Contested football plus 35 for North Melbourne. They smacked them in the contest, which is a big win for the Kangaroos. In all honesty, they needed to come out and do this. This game meant quite a bit more to them, I think. It was important that they showed up and put in a good performance, and that's what they did. Intercept game, Kangaroos absolutely dominated that. Plus 15, clearances plus 9. It was just a thrashing. Probably should have been a bigger thrashing. The second half certainly turned it that way. The first half, wasted opportunities by North Melbourne. In the end, it was 37 shots at goal for North Melbourne, which is quite a high number. 25 for Richmond. In the end, the margin probably isn't too far from what the expected score would be from those sort of numbers. Score sources, Kangaroos did it from kick-in, kicked a couple goals from kick-in to 0-0 for Richmond. From stoppages, plus 15 in scoring for the Roos, 62-47. Turnover, 60-40. So just a clean sweep, just across the board. The Roos got it done. Score origin, 28-8 from the defensive half. Pretty solid numbers for the Roos. 65-54 from the forward half. And as most Kangaroos games are, a lot of goals from the centre bounce. 7 goals straight for the Kangaroos. 4 goals 1 for the Tigers. 4 goals 1 is a really, really good return from the Tigers there. However, 7 goals straight from the Kangaroos is an outstanding effort. That's one area of the game that they're very, very good at, and that's scoring from the centre bounce. They don't score all that well from other sources or origins, but from the centre bounce, they typically are pretty good. So that's all the team stats to look at. Brownlow votes, we've got Harry Sheasel. Luke Davies-Yanaki second and 2 votes, and Paul Curtis gets the 1. Now let's jump into some of these numbers, because they are absurd what we're about to go through. First of all, MVP votes, 10 to Harry Sheasel. He was the highest rated player on the ground. He had 54, yep, you heard that right. 54 disposals in this game. All-time record in the AFL, VFL history, equaling Tom Mitchell of about 7 or 8 years ago when he was at Hawthorn. He had 8 inside 50s, 16 contested possessions, which means he had 38 uncontested. Would have hurt to put a body on him at some point. 38 uncontested is more than most people have total disposals. That's insane. 5 intercepts, 30 handball receives, so he ran and carried. 6 clearances, 7 marks, 5 shots at goal, 2 goals, 2. Just an insane scoreline. 15 score involvements, 4 score launches, 5 tackles, 22 pressure acts. Well done, Harry Sheezel. Outstanding game. Luke Davies-Yanaki also went massive. He had 40 touches, 17 of those contested. So actually had more contested than Harry Sheezel. 12 inside 50s, 6 intercepts, 10 clearances, 9 marks, 1 goal, 1, 15 score involvements, 6 score launches, and 7 tackles with 3 goal assists. Massive game. That's pretty much 3 Brownlow votes most weeks. But somehow, 40 disposals and a goal and 3 goal assists isn't enough for that in this one, I don't reckon. Next, 6... Oh, that's 6 votes for him, sorry. 8 was actually Tristan Cherry, who actually outrated Luke Davies-Yanaki in a rating system. 22 disposals for him, 16 contested, 6 clearances, dominated the ruck throughout this one. Nankervis was okay and pretty solid overall, but Tristan Cherry, I think, was the clear winner. 18 tackles is absurd. 28 pressure acts and 40 hit-outs for Tristan Cherry. That number again, 18 tackles. That's crazy. Paul Curtis, he gets 4. He had a massive game himself. He went, what did he have in the end? 15 disposals, 5 goals. Most games, that's a really, really good number. Good turnover, good everything. But he got outshined by probably 3 players at least. It was just an insane game from the Kangaroos. Caleb Daniel sneaks in for 2. He had 25 touches in this one, so he had plenty of it as well. Other big notable ball winners. Parker had 30. McKercher had 29. Wardlaw 25. Simpkin 24. Tom Power 22. Stevens 22. Finn O'Sullivan 21. That is wild numbers. Only 2 Tigers had more than 20 disposals. Nankervis 21 and Jacob Hopper 27. The Kangaroos just controlled this game. They had the football pretty much the whole game, and they absolutely tore the shreds off the Tigers. Moving across to the Tigers, Richmond, their best 5. 5 votes goes to Nankervis, even though he was probably overall beaten in the ruck. He was still pretty solid, 21 touches, 30 hit-outs in this one. 4 goes to Tom Lynch. He was outstanding up forward, especially early. Could have been better. He had 8 shots at goal for 3 goals, 4. If he had turned that into 6 goals too, it would have been a lot better for him, obviously. Jack Ross is the 3 votes. He had 19 disposals, 3 clearances. He was pretty solid, had plenty of inside mid stuff in this one. Tyler Young gets the 2. His numbers, not a huge ball-winning game, 13 touches, but pretty solid with the ball, intercept pretty well. And 1 goes to Jacob Hopper. As we said, he was their biggest ball winner. He had 28 touches, 27 touches, sorry, 6 clearances. Overall, it was just one-way traffic. What's this mean for both of these teams? Not a hell of a lot. They both have just 1 game left. It does put North above Richmond, which is probably where it stays. In all honesty, neither team should win next week. Doesn't mean they won't, but they shouldn't. North Melbourne host Adelaide next weekend. I think Saturday, maybe. I should probably check when that is, because it isn't that hard to look. Yes, Saturday afternoon at Marvel Stadium. You'd imagine that the Crows should take care of the Kangaroos. So they'll finish probably with 5.5 wins on the season. The Tigers, they have Geelong. That is probably not going to be a win. It's at the MCG, which does help them a little bit, but you'd think Geelong playing for that guaranteed top 2 finish would be too strong. Yeah, and that's basically it. So they'll finish on 5 wins, 17th on the ladder for the end of the season. Not a bad season, not a spectacular season, but it certainly was a better result than most people expected for them this season. Moving on to the next game, it's Sydney Geelong. This was the second last game of the round. And Sydney started pretty well, in all honesty, in this game. It did look like it was going to be a good one for the first 15 minutes of it. Sydney kicked the first 3 through McLean, Heaney and Braden Campbell, and things were looking good. But then the Cats got going. They kicked the next 4, Shannon Neal, Martin, Myers, Shannon Neal again, to give them the lead late in the first quarter. Ended up being level going into quarter time. Sydney then kicked the next couple again to take out another lead before Geelong just took over midway through the second quarter and never looked back from that point. They ended up cruising out, 26-point lead at 3-quarter time. Ended up winning comfortably by 43 points. Yeah, pretty much sums it up. Pretty comfortable in the end for Geelong. The ratings, team ratings for this one, Geelong 48.19, Sydney 40.85. I think that's pretty accurate. Sydney weren't terrible, certainly early. Geelong were just too good and wore them down eventually. It was a little bit of a danger game for Geelong in terms of Sydney have been playing some really good football lately, but the Cats are absolutely flying. They're not putting a foot wrong at the moment. They have Richmond next week, and you'd imagine they'll finish second on the ladder, and that will be all she wrote. They'll have a home qualifying final at the MCG. Let's jump into some team stats for this game. The important numbers behind this victory for the Cats. Disposal count ended up +5 for Sydney, so I mean, Geelong aren't a massive ball-winning team, so that's not too bad, but they did have +3% disposal efficiency, 71 to 68, so they'll be pretty happy with that. Their ball use was pretty good throughout most of the game, Geelong. +8 inside 50s. Contested football went in the way of the Swans, +3 at the full time. Intercepts, though, was a domination by Geelong, +18. They controlled that side of the game. We'll get to the scoring in a minute, but just in terms of intercepts, absolutely dominated by Geelong here. And clearance game went Sydney's way, +10. Marks is another key stat in this game, 114 to 79, which just shows that for big periods of this game, Geelong absolutely controlled the football. You don't have +35 marks in a game unless you're controlling the basic football use throughout most of it. Shots, 36 for Geelong, 21 for Sydney, so another sign that they just had so much more of it. Probably wasted plenty of opportunities in this one. 16 goals from 36 shots, whereas Sydney were 10 goals from 21 shots. Looking at ball movements, Geelong definitely had the better ball movement throughout the game. Sydney did manage 2 goals from kick-ins to 1 goal, 1 from Geelong. From stoppage, as we said, Sydney were actually good in the clearance game, and they did outscore Geelong 35 to 30 from clearances. But the turnover is where Geelong dominated this, and when they are playing their best football, that is where they dominate games of football. We say it week in, week out. If they are dominating turnovers, they are dominating matches because they score heavily from the turnover. 74 to 21 in this game. That's +9 goals, basically. You're not coming back from that. Score origin, 36 to 33 from the defensive half, but the forward half, Geelong did it again. 60 to 28 in this game. Absolutely controlled it. Brownlow votes could go any number of ways in this game. There was a lot of good players for Geelong, as there usually is. They're a very consistent team across the board, I think, and that's probably what gets them the chocolates so often. 3 votes I've given to Sean Manor, 2 to Bailey Smith, and 1 to Tom Atkins. Jumping into MVP votes, 5 goes to Peter Laddams. Jumped into the ruck role in this game and had a fair bit of action, in all honesty. 35 hitouts he ended up with, kicked a couple goals. 13 contested possessions, 10 clearances, 17 disposals. It was a really good game from him. There's no doubt about it. He was really good for Sydney, I think. 4 votes goes to Nick Blakey, who's having a good season across the board, I believe. One of their better players across the year. 23 disposals, 6 intercepts. 5 of those intercepts were marks. He was good. Errol Goulden, he's had a good second half of the year. Not outstanding, but certainly good. Since coming back from injury, I think we'll see a lot better from him next year when he gets a full... Well, he got a full preseason this year, but obviously injured himself in the practice games, so missed all of that and wasted all that preseason. So hopefully he gets a clean run at it next year, and we'll see him back to his full best. But 23 touches in this one. He was solid. Angus Sheldrick gets the 2 votes. He had 21 touches. Played a fair bit of inside mid, got 6 clearances. And Callum Mills, the captain for Sydney, gets the 1 vote for his game. He had plenty of the football, 25 touches, 7 intercepts. On the winning team, Geelong, Bailey Smith gets the 10 votes, as well as we gave him the 2 Brownlow votes. He could well get the 3 Brownlow votes. He had 30 touches, 3 intercepts, 5 clearances, did plenty of it, 14 contested possessions. Could well get the 3 Brownlow votes again here. He will be right up there in the votes on Brownlow night, I would imagine. Shannon Neal gets the 8 MVP votes for his 4 goals. He played a really good key forward role again in this one. Really good game from him. Tom Atkins, that's a typo there. It's definitely meant to be Tom Atkins. 21 disposals, 10 contested possessions, 7 clearances. Really good performance from him. He's the big contested ball winner in the middle. I know that sometimes, like in this one, Bailey Smith actually had more contested balls overall, but that's what Tom Atkins does best. 5 tackles as well. He played that role really well. Brian Myers having a fantastic year, in my opinion. He has 18 touches, 2 goals in this game. Sets up goals all over the place. That's what he does best. He had 6 score involvements, had a couple tackles. Another good game from him. And Ollie Dempsey gets 2 votes. He's having a solid season as well, kicking on from Rising Star last year. 21 touches in this one, 6 intercepts, was really, really good. Geelong, just too strong. What's that mean for both teams? Sydney, obviously, they are missing finals. They're guaranteed to finish 10th. Even before this week, they were guaranteed to finish 10th. That is where they will finish. They're 3 games currently behind 9th place, who have an extra game on them. And there's only 1 week left. They're also 2 games ahead of St Kilda, who are behind them in 11th. So they play West Coast next week. Win, lose, or draw, they will be finishing 10th on the ladder, the Swans. You'd imagine they would probably head over to the West and win that game, which would end up with 12 wins on the season, which typically you'd probably say is pretty close to finals. Not this year. Last year, I think it was 13 was enough for finals, but it was also enough for 9th. Whereas this year, you're looking at 15 probably to play finals, which is crazy. That's basically the long and the short of it. 15 might even miss finals, which is even more crazy. That's Sydney. Geelong, they're sitting 2nd on the ladder at the end of the round. They play Richmond next week, which you'd imagine should be a win on Saturday afternoon for the Cats. A win would guarantee them top 2, depending on what happens with Adelaide, whether that's 1st or 2nd. But they will be hosting a qualifying final in week 1 of the finals. They will have 2 home finals throughout the final series, provided they beat Richmond next week. If they were to lose in that unlikely circumstance, they could drop probably only 1 spot. Brisbane would be the only ones that could pass them if they managed to beat Hawthorn. Everyone else's percentage is probably too low that could get to the same amount of wins. So Geelong pretty safe in 2nd, and potentially could be playing any number of teams in first week of finals, depending on other results. Could be Brisbane, Collingwood, Hawthorn, all quite likely. Gold Coast is a chance if they can win both of their last 2 games. So plenty of options there for who Geelong will have next week. Oh, the week after in finals. You know what I mean. Moving on to the 9th and final game of the round, and it was the Bulldogs taking absolute care of the West Coast Eagles. This is what the Doggies do best. A lot of people call them flat track bullies. I think that's a bit of an over-exaggeration. They play marble really well. West Coast struggle most of the year, and the Doggies took care of them to the tune of 94 points. This never looked in doubt. It was 4 goals 5-0-1 at quarter time. It extended out to 11-7 to 2-5 at half time. 15-7 to 3-8 at three-quarter time, and then 19-12 to 4-8 to finish by 96 points. 94? 94 points for the Bulldogs. Lost the plot. Just comfortable, really. There's no two ways about it. You look at the team ratings in the All-Aussie rule system. 52.04 for the Doggies, 37.63 for the Eagles. 37.63 offensively for the Eagles isn't that bad. They created some opportunities, but Bulldogs just way too good. 52.04 is a really, really high score. Looking at some of the team stats in this game, some of the key numbers behind the win, it's just a flat-out domination throughout this game. There was only 38 disposals difference between the two teams in favour of the Doggies, but the disposal efficiency, 78% to 70.4. It was just Bulldogs in control of the football and looking after the football. They had an extra 16 inside 50s, an extra 17 contested possessions. The ball was in their forward half for 53% of this game. They had an extra 3 intercepts and an extra 2 clearances, extra 19 marks. It was just throughout this game, they just had the ball a lot more, even if they weren't like getting massive disposal numbers. Shots ended up 36 to 15. 15 shots for 4 goals for West Coast isn't great, let's be honest, but the expected score margin still looking at 70 to 80 points, even with that poor kicking from the Eagles. Transition game, West Coast's numbers were really quite low. Bulldogs, slightly above average for them. They got 1 goal from kick-in to 0-0. Stoppage work, 47 to 5, so 0-5 from stoppages for West Coast, not a great return. Scoring from turnover, 73 to 27, so pretty consistent across the ground for the Bulldogs, whereas West Coast didn't create all that many opportunities. From the back half, 51 to 15 in favour of the Doggies. Forward half was 55 to 15, and from the centre bounce was 20 to 2. Brownlow votes, kind of like the last game, the Geelong-Sydney game, there are a lot of players on the winning team that could get votes in this game. We've gone Bontempelli, he's an absolute gun, and he did it again here. Ed Richards 2, and Tom Liberatore gets the 1. Looking at MVP votes, the 10 for the highest rated player goes to Bontempelli. He had 31 touches, 15 contested, 9 inside 50s, 10 clearances, 2 goals, 2. Outstanding game. Ed Richards, he also was big. 25 touches, 9 contested, 3 intercepts, 2 goals, 2. Bailey Dale gets 6 votes here. He had 34 touches, leading disposal winner, 10 marks, 8 intercepts. He was outstanding. Tim English played a really good game in the ruck again. He has been pretty consistent throughout most of this season, I think. He played another good game, 20 touches in this one. Really good in the ruck throughout, as most teams do beat West Coast in the ruck battle. Like, it's just a weekly thing, really. 2 to Tom Liberatore. He had 22 disposals with 9 clearances. Honourable mentions go to Riley West, who had 13 touches, 3 goals. Sam Darcy kicked 3. Sam Davidson had 15 touches, 3 goals. Aaron Norton also kicked, I think, 3 goals. I can't see him at the moment. Didn't have much of the ball, just the 7 touches, but did get 3 goals. For West Coast, 5 votes goes to Jack Graham. 20 disposals, 7 clearances in this game. Pretty solid performance from him. Liam Baker, he's been solid throughout most of this year. Probably West Coast's highest rated player across the year. He had 24 disposals, 8 intercepts. Matt Flynn in the ruck, he had just the 11 disposals, 1 goal. Ruben Ginby in the back line was solid enough. He had 22 disposals in this one with 8 intercepts. And Campbell Chesser gets the 1 vote for his 22 disposals. that is pretty much everything we need to know from that game. What does that mean? Well, West Coast have one game left. They're going to finish bottom of the ladder. They're 4 games behind Richmond in 17th. So they play Sydney next week at home. It's a chance for them to get a second win. It's unlikely, but maybe they can do it. Like, they've got nothing to lose. A win won't affect draft positions. It won't affect much other than how bad this season was. If a 1-win season doesn't sound anywhere near as good as a 2-win season, it's been a long year. They will be counting down the days until they can play Sydney and end the season, because it's been a long one. Their season officially wraps up on Saturday night. That is the lone Saturday night game next week, so I don't know if too many people will be watching that. In fact, Saturday football next week might just be a bit of nothingness in the AFL. We've got 16th versus 1st, we've got 17th versus 2nd, and we've got 18th versus 10th. So the bottom 3 teams versus the top 2 teams and Sydney. So, Saturday football next weekend might not be the best viewing of all time. Sometimes football can surprise us, though. Meanwhile, the Bulldogs basically have an elimination final against the Dockers at Marvel Stadium Sunday afternoon. It's going to be a cracking game. Basically, I know Gold Coast could hypothetically lose both their games and still finish below Fremantle, but whoever wins out of Fremantle Bulldogs guarantees finals. The loser is effectively done, unless Gold Coast lose both their games. Fremantle get a draw, they also go through. So a massive game, elimination final before the elimination finals. Bulldogs could still finish pretty high depending on other results because their percentage is so high. They have the 3rd highest percentage in the competition at the moment, just behind Adelaide and Geelong, and only just behind both of them. But in all honesty, they're probably going to finish 7th or 8th, depending on other results. Like GWS, if they lost, maybe they'd go... Well, they could also go above Hawthorn. They could go above Collingwood if either of those lose. But they would be relying on a lot of results to go their way. They, plain and simple, just need to beat Fremantle to play finals. And Fremantle, likewise, have to go to Melbourne, to Marvel Stadium, to beat the Bulldogs to qualify. I'll be going to that game. I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be a cracker. Hopefully, it lives up to the hype and is a really good contest all the way through. That's the ladder. That's the positions. That's everything you need to know. As I said at the start of the episode, if you were listening or you weren't here, in case you weren't here, we're not doing our Brownlow and MVP leaderboard updates in this episode. Just because there's 1 week left, we're going to build the tension a little bit. We're going to do them both next week, awarding the winners of both of them. So make sure you come back to next Monday's episode and check that out, because we will be announcing who leads our Brownlow prediction and also who wins the MVP for the home and away season. We continue it on through the final series as well, but yeah, that's more so for the club BNFs that we do. Home and away, best and fairest will also be, all MVP will be announced in next Monday's episode. Actually, no, it won't. That will be announced the week after, because there's a game next Wednesday, of course, between Gold Coast and Essendon. Yes, correct. So that will be the following week, but we'll know anyway who's going to be winning them. So yes, that is all to come. We'll check out my footy tips in a minute, but before we get there, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, all of those things. Every interaction helps, so I appreciate you. Make sure you go check out the social medias. We post game reviews after every game on TikTok, on Instagram, on Twitter. We do plenty of social media content, so make sure you go check all that out. Let's jump into see how our tips went this week. And boy, oh boy, it could have been a 9 out of 9. I'm so gutted that I tipped the Dockers. I was swaying between the two. We nearly got it. So Saints, we got that one right. The margin was a lot closer than that. The actual margin was only 2 points, but we still got it right. Dockers, they were terrible against the Lions, and we get that one wrong. I'm disappointed because I nearly did tip the Lions. We did go Giants by 8 points. They ended up winning by 35, so we get that one right. The Blues were way too strong for power. They won by 54. Hawthorn won by 36. We're pretty close on that one. Adelaide only won by 3, but we do get the tick. Kangaroos absolutely smacked the Tigers by 48, so we get that one. Cats won by 43, a bit more than we expected, but still, we get the tick. And the Bulldogs, they won by 94, so we're not that far off. 8 out of 9 for the week, 143 out of 197 on the season. There's 10 games to go in the home and away season. 9 next weekend, and then 1 the following Wednesday. Make sure you come back next week. Throughout the week, we've got multiple episodes going live. Round 24 preview episode will be on the YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts on Wednesday. So go check that out. Make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss it. AFLW Round 2 preview and Round 1 review episode will be live on Friday in the same spots, YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. It's at All Aussie Rules anywhere you look, all over social media. Go check it out. We're up to the business end of the season. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Stick around. We'll be back soon enough.